The answer as to whether you should accept a plea deal or go to trial relies entirely on the facts of your particular case and on the evidence that the government has to prove your guilt. You need to remember that under our criminal justice system, the government needs to prove its case against you beyond a reasonable doubt. It is not your responsibility to prove your innocence. Again, it is the government's responsibility to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So that'll be the first question that you need to determine, or that your attorney needs to determine with you, is whether the government has that proof to meet that heavy burden. If the government has that proof to meet their burden, then it is more likely that you're going to want to consider a plea deal. If the government potentially does not have the proof to meet its burden beyond a reasonable doubt, that's when you consider going to trial. A trial is a place where facts are to be determined by an independent fact finder, whether that's a trial by jury, where there are 12 jurors who have to unanimously find the facts that find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the charges that you're facing, or whether it's the judge that does that. There are times when there are trials that are determined by the judge and not by a jury. But when it comes to going to trial, there are risks. There are always risks. And what is the risk? It's the risk that you're going to be found guilty by a jury of 12 unanimously. You're going to be found guilty of the crimes which you were charged with. And if you are found guilty by a jury or by a judge, if it's a judge trial, then you're going to be sentenced in a way that does not give you the benefit of having a prior, potentially better plea offer with the government. When you're given a plea offer, it is rarely a plea to all of the charges. It's a plea to a lesser charge, or it's a plea that gives you a lesser sentence than you will otherwise be facing if you force the government to go and prove its case to a jury. What you're saving the government by entering into a plea deal is you're saving them the effort of having to prepare its case and prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury. So there are times, and many times, that you're going to want to take advantage of that plea offer. Sometimes it doesn't behoove you to do that, and perhaps you can aim to get an acquittal at trial, meaning you'll be found not guilty if the facts and the evidence as presented to the jury or to a judge permits that. When you go to make that decision, that's one of the most important decisions you're going to make in a criminal case. And so you're going to need to get the best representation you can possibly get so that you know that you have done everything you can and that you have made the best possible decision as to how to dispose of your case. For more information on plea deals as they relate to your particular case, or whether you should go to trial and put the government to its burden, go to Kardon Law at www.kardonlaw.com and contact Nancy Kardon so we can review the facts of your particular case.